up where we left off last time, I had welded the foot together and now I'm creating an extra little layer for threading since they had broken off when I tried to put the feet back on. Now that that's done, I'll heat up a nail and then get the hole started just small enough to where I'm able to use the drill bit to fit the screw. I started with a drill bit that was smaller than the diameter of the screw without the threading, and moved up a size to match the diameter, but only drilling about halfway. After doing so, I went around the welded plastic with some UV glue. It seems to work really well in comparison to super glue. Super glue just seems to dry a little too slowly, and there's not much flexibility compared to UV glue. While focused on the other foot, I neglected to notice that the threading had broken off of the other one. Luckily, it's not in a billion pieces like the other foot was, so I'm just going over it with UV glue and getting that reset properly. Now I'm going to skin the Furby and see what all of these random rattling plastic parts are, and hopefully we can get them working. I have noticed that almost every Furby that I've worked on is slightly different in regard to clips, the coloration of plastic, sink screw placement, and so many other little details. It definitely keeps things interesting. The first thing I noticed when I pulled the fur up over his belly is that the belly sensor button was quite broken. A lot of little pieces jammed in there. I don't imagine we'll use all of these tiny pieces just to get the button sensor working, but we'll revisit. Getting the rest of this Furby unskinned, I noticed that everything was sewn in, so I went ahead and cut all of those threads. The sink screw in this Furby seems to be between the middle of the eyes, and it's held on by a clip. I didn't want to risk moving the sink screw, so I just clipped the plastic in the middle of the face on the fur. Now that we have him open, I can get started on that tummy button and sensor. Just using more UV glue for this, as I didn't need to plastic weld any of this. I imagine it might make this type of plastic a bit weaker, just because it seems so fragile to start with. Next is trying to get that piece glued back on, and I might have to weld the other side so the motor can push it forward when needed. Next up, we'll be pulling all of the components out without messing up the wiring, just getting all of this extra plastic out of the way so we can set the sensor. As you can see, the necessary plastic holds it in place so we can press the sensor down. Next, I'll go ahead and pull the clip underneath where we had UV glued and welded, again so the motor can push the tummy out. Next thing I noticed is that this wire was looking a bit cruddy, so I used some wire strippers and got down to it. It's a little gross, but I was able to find some clean enough wire to solder there. The trick with soldering is to heat the piece and don't have the soldering wire touch the heat itself or from the source of the heat. So you want to heat up that wire as much as you can so you can get the solder to drip over the top and where this little plate is. Now I'm just going to seal up a few cracks. I did make sure to test the wire with a multimeter just to ensure that the solder set correctly. And this is my boyfriend helping me figure out why we aren't able to figure anything else out with this Furby. After about 12 hours of working on this guy, and him still not powering on, even after triple checking corrosion, so on and so forth, we were testing power from the battery, and it seems like there's something holding it up right before the circuit board. I'm gonna have to spend quite a while doing my research, seeing if I can try and find a diagram. I know it's proprietary information, so it's gonna be a bit harder than most things, but once I have that technical issue figured out, I'll continue with the rest of the series on this specific Furby.